Well, what up, Broncos country? My bad. I was a little late on the. Not only were we late, me and Jeremy were just kind of catching up and goofing off in the back. But then I saw some of the comments. But what's going on, man? Hope you all doing well. We are breaking 26 hours,
I
a little
know.
bit less than 26 hours away from the
It,
NFL draft. I am super happy and excited to be joined by Jeremy. You guys know him. He's a legend here in Broncos YouTube country, and we're just going to be talking about all sorts of fun stuff, man. Predictions, scenarios, our thoughts. What's going to happen? So, Jeremy, how you feeling, man? Take it away.
yeah, man, I'm excited. Like, it's obviously we have done a lot of thinking and talking about this, and we are now, yeah, like you said, what, 26 hours away? That is, it's so fun, all the buildup. It's going to feel weird on Monday when all this, I mean, we'll have the people that, the picks to talk about, but yeah, it's all, I always find it interesting, like when it comes to like January and February, I'm like, oh man, I feel like I don't know who a lot of these guys are. And then by the time the actual draft comes along, I'm like, I'm talking like, I know some like middle sixth round pick guy like the back of my hand. So it's just
Yeah,
like, oh,
yeah,
okay, I have a problem.
yeah.
But yeah, so this idea for this video, I kind of was trying to come up with different scenarios. I wanted your take. You do so many great videos and give your opinions, but nobody gets to like come at you with their kind of questions on how you would feel about certain scenarios. You did an
Hmm?
awesome mailbag, and there's just too many. I had too many questions to just flood you with those. So I got a bunch of different scenarios, a bunch of grades that we can do if they happen, and yeah, let's get some predictions going.
Let's do it, my man. So, what do you want? What do you want to start at? I guess we could look at some of the chat. Miller time. Thanks for the love, man. I appreciate you joining in. He says,
Yeah,
I can't get past the feeling of wanting Hampton really bad. Wish we could trade back 3 to 5 spots and pick up an extra third and get him, but not very likely. What do you think about that?
yeah. Man, this has been the weirdest draft because it seems like every time I start to really like somebody, they're like, "Oh, he's not going to be there. Oh, he's not going to be." And I'm like, "Gosh, dang it!" So Hampton's an interesting one. I obviously like when we did our cheat sheet video, we picked him on one of them in the first round. It's hard to know. I've heard a lot of people like him. I could see him even going as high as like Dallas at 12. So yeah, I don't know if it's. I think it's kind of like last year. If you like the player, you probably should just take him at 20, unless you really, really are confident. Um, so I would love to trade back and get the guy I want to, but it's probably just not going to happen. And
Yeah.
I've grown more and more on the Henderson at 20. If Sean, if that's the way Sean wants to go, I'm more on board with that than I used to be. I was with you as far as round one running backs. I don't love it. This is a weird draft because it seems like the round two guys don't have the same, like that makes sense, but there just seem to be a different tier, which sometimes I feel like, oh, people are underestimating this guy or that guy, but it seems like Henderson is one of those guys where he probably, I'm assuming he'd be there at 20, but he's would be really hard to think he would make it to 51. So if you want him, you kind of got to figure out something with that.
Yeah. No, man, it's going to be fascinating to see because I'm of the camp too. I mean, obviously, I've been pretty vocal about like not being a big proponent of running back in the first round. But listen, if you love a running back, or if we took Trevion Henderson over Omarion Hampton, which I would be a big proponent of, not just because I think he's a better running back, but because I think it's a better fit, then you got to look at the draft as in its entirety, right? So like on night one, I'll be excited. I love running backs. I love Trevion Henderson, but it's like, okay, the picks 2 and 3 are going to be really important in terms of like judging that, right? Because like let's say there's a couple of defensive linemen that you like or a receiver that you like, and they're not available in the second, but hypothetically maybe one of the running backs that you still like was, and then you're like, oh, I would have preferred this versus that. But
Exactly.
that's kind of what we got to look at. I know we're all going to be reacting to round one, at least initially, obviously after tomorrow night, but Friday and Saturday are going to be huge, man, when you talk about the entirety of the draft. So that's what I'm super excited about, man. So, yeah, I mean, what do you think? Do you have any kind of feelings or like crazy predictions that you think are going to happen tomorrow?
The only prediction I have is that I don't have a pretty good idea about what's going to happen. Like this is a weird draft because it felt like I could almost go team. Like, remember last year, this is kind of where we all started. This is a good like anniversary for like me personally, as far as like doing this, because we kind of first did our video pre-draft about what we thought. We did a couple mock drafts of what we thought would happen. And it's easier when you're picking lower, obviously, but like you could pretty much go team by team and kind of know what was going on. And you're like, I think the Giants are going Neighbors. I think I'm hearing this for this. I mean, it just felt like the only surprise that was like a big one was maybe Penix, but for the most part, you kind of had teams slotted in as far as I think Minnesota likes JJ McCarthy. I think the Patriots like Drake May, So this year, after Cam Ward, I just don't know. I think if this is a good year to not need a quarterback, and it's also a good year when to maybe be in the 12 to 17 range as opposed to like top 10, unless you maybe top 3 and you love Travis Hunter, you love Abdul Carter. Those are like really the only sure like things that people think of, but I think even those top teams may want to trade out. So I really don't know what's going to happen as far as how it's going to go.
What's your dream round 1 scenario? If you could paint it, it doesn't even have to be realistic. Like what, I mean, I guess it has to be semi-realistic, right? What is like your ideal, I would do this?
Well, like up until this week, I was like, my dream scenario is for Ashton Jeanty to follow us and then we pick him, but that's obviously not going to happen. I think my dream scenario, honestly, at this point, and that's a bunch of the different scenarios I had for you, but the guy that I would want is there at 20, which is maybe it's possible, but maybe not probable. And I just really like a lot of the players in the second, third, and fourth rounds that I don't want to give up picks personally. So, let me ask you this. I'll start you with the draft scenario. I got a bunch here.
I like it.
Would you go if Jeanty somehow slips to number 9? Would you go to 9? And let's say, just off the top of my head, that would cost you obviously 20. It would cost you 51. It would cost you 85. And we'll say a 2 next year.
So your question is, would you trade up to number 9 to get Jeanty?
Yes. Because I would think the Bears
just created that.
Yeah, that was perfect.
And you're saying the cost is a future 1.
I wasn't even gonna put a future 1. I was gonna put a future 2 plus basically your draft this year, your early draft this year. Like your 1, your 2, your 3.
Okay.
Year.
No, I would not. Absolutely not. As much as I love Jeanty, I think he's the best running back. I mean, I said it in my video yesterday. I think he's the best running back prospect coming out of college that I've ever seen. He's unbelievable. He really is unbelievable. But to give up an entire draft, basically, or, being able to like ignore, bringing a lot of talent and depth at other key positions of the field, especially for a running back, I couldn't get myself, man. It would be super exciting. Like it'd be crazy. It would be crazy.
Yeah.
But I have a hard time with that, man. I definitely wouldn't do it. I think that for me, like I'm good with the idea of getting Jeanty. And if we had to, like, the ideal world of it is if we traded up, we could still keep at least the second or the third, either one. And then if we gave up a future 1 to do it, I would maybe be okay. Cause it's like, all right, we can just worry about that shit next year. We got a stud. We can still get a couple players. Mm-hmm. But even then it's like, what's the, dude, there's such a risk. I mean, it's like, I know he's going to be really good, but how long do running backs last in the league? He already has a lot of tread on his tires, right? We saw with Javonte Williams, 1 injury and basically a running back could be ruined. So it's like, it's one of those where I feel like trading up, a lot of assets or future first round picks is the only time I can ever justify it if it's for a quarterback. Like last year, we were talking about it. I said, shit, man, if you want Bo Nix and you feel like you got to go up to 6 to get him, which obviously we didn't, I say give them whatever the hell they want. I don't give a shit because you got to do it for a quarterback. Yeah. But we're not that desperate this year. And so I wouldn't. Would you do it?
No.
What are your thoughts on it?
No, I feel the exact same way. Yeah. But I just have seen so many people being like, totally, I'd do it in a heartbeat. You know, like, you don't understand, like, you can't, if you give up, like, our team is built on, like, second, third, and fourth, and fifth round guys, whatever. You can't just, it's just such a mindset of, like, this instant gratification, and you just are just so focused on, you know, it's like Indiana Jones when he's, like, so focused on, like, the golden idol, he's just like, you know what I mean? It's like you can't do that. You just can't do it. And like you said, for a running back, I don't care who he is. Like it's just it makes no sense. All right, let me go to the second scenario because this is also for a running back. Now, let's say Jeanty goes top 5, and I'm hoping Jacksonville either trades somebody to pick up Jeanty, or they just pick him because
I think the Jags are, man.
That would be nice. I would much rather him be in Jacksonville than Vegas. That's for sure. Yeah. Let's say he goes 5, and now word on the street is that Hampton's going to go 12. Would you go to 11 for Hampton? And let's say the haul was a lot less. Let's say it was your 20th, and a second next year.
No, I wouldn't.
For the same reasons, most likely, right?
Yeah, but also I'm not the biggest Omarion Hampton fan. I think he's a good fit for Sean Payton, but like, dude, the drop off from him to like Trevion or Quinshon just as like running backs, I don't think that there is one. Like I would be more okay doing it for Trevion.
Okay,
because I think that yeah.
Okay, next scenario. Let's say you only need to move up a little bit for TreVeyon Henderson. Let's say you have to go to 17. So it'll cost you a third. So you're going to give up your 20th, and you're going to give up your 85th pick to go to 17 for TreVeyon Henderson.
And like you had to, so you couldn't wait in this scenario.
Like you have good intel that the Seahawks want him, or somebody else is trying to trade up at 17, so you have to go to 17, or you just, and Jeanty and Hampton have already gone. That's the other part of the scenario. So
yeah,
you're now to RB4.
Man. It's okay. So I probably would do it. I don't think it's that big of a cost. The thing is like, who else is available, right? I mean, if you're assuming 2 running backs, you know, Matthew Golden's probably going to be available there at 20. Emeka Ibuka is going to be available there at 20. So it's like, all right, then you ask yourself the question, do you like Ibuka and, you know, whatever third round pick you think is going to be available, or just TreVeyon Henderson, you know? And when you look at it like that, you're like, well, I would be fine with them doing it, but I definitely wouldn't prefer to do it.
Sure.
You know, because then again, for me with running back, like I always use the analogy, especially with running backs, it's all about value. That's what we have to like try to remember, is like put ourselves in the mind of the GMs, right? It's all about value. So it's not just about winning this year. It's obviously winning here on out. And the analogy I always use is like, it's like buying a new car off the lot, right? So if we drafted a running back in the first round, yeah, you're excited, right? When you buy the car brand new. And then after a few weeks, you're like, damn, I don't think it was really worth it, man. You know, like it might not have been the best use of our assets, but like, you know, you kind of deal with it. That's kind of how I look at it with backs. So yeah, I mean, I would be shocked if 3, but what are your thoughts on that?
I would too. This is one where I'd actually start to be like, I would hate to give up extra to get a guy who for this whole time you thought you could easily get at 20, but you know, draft night gets crazy. And let's just say a lot of teams have Henderson over Hampton like you do, which is totally like, I've heard, you know, like Maurice Jones-Drew has had Henderson at his RB2 and he had Hampton 7. So you just don't know. This one I would think about, if it's one of those things where now we're at the point where if Sean absolutely was like, I love TreVeyon Henderson, I want him on the Denver Broncos, George do it, I would be on board.
Yeah,
But I wouldn't do it out of desperation of like,
No.
we need a running back.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, and that's obviously a big piece to it. And to give it a little context, if they realistically wanted to move up, it's 100-point difference on this point scale thing that I guess Jimmy Johnson and a lot of teams use. So essentially, we could give, like, if we gave our 3rd round pick and number 20, we would actually need to get back 65 points. So they would like return their 4th rounder to us. And that would actually make it swap. Even. Actually, exactly.
So it would basically be a 3rd to 4th swap. Yeah.
So we would have no 3rd, we have 2 4th rounders.
Yeah, you're swapping your 3rd for a 4th. You're just basically just moving back. And
just to move up. So
just and you're moving up 3 spots.
Like that, I don't have much of a problem with, because it's like, all right, I think the value and the guts of this draft is like in those rounds.
Right.
So I'd feel a lot better with that. Like, all right, we don't have a 3rd, but we have at least 2 4ths to make up for it. It's a little bit of a lower pick, but still, yeah. I mean, I think it's just tough. This running back thing is going to be crazy, and it's also because I go back and forth. We talk how much we talked about running backs. I go back and forth all the time, and I think to myself, it's a historic running back class, man. There's a lot of good ones, but people make a good point. Like, if it's a historic running back class, why not get the best guys? Why settle for the middle tier guys, even if they're really good? And it's like, I understand that completely. So like, I can get that. It's also a value thing. Like, if you're going to get a running back in the 3rd, that in a normal year, you probably is going to go in the 2nd, then that's a great thing. Right. But it's like, yeah, why not get the guys that are just like historically good? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I guess my pushback to that would be, it's kind of like how it was for quarterbacks last year. It's all in the eye of the beholder. You could make the case, Bo Nix is QB6. That's what a lot of people who didn't like Bo Nix, that was their ammunition. Oh, way to go, Denver. You took with the 12th pick, you got QB6. Well, he wasn't our QB6, 1. And 2, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, maybe the Falcons love Penix, but maybe we didn't. Or maybe the Minnesota loved JJ, maybe we didn't. Maybe we love a running back, just as much as Travion Henderson. It's not as simple as being like, because this guy has been ranked higher than this guy, he's better. It's all about fit. It's all about personality. 100%. So that's the part where it's like, I get the argument of like, in a draft that has all these great guys, get the best one you can. But who's to say like the 9th guy isn't going to be much better than the 3rd guy, just because like that's just what's going to happen in real life. You just have to pick the guy you like.
Right. I mean, it's like you said, we saw it with Bo last year.
Yeah.
On a lot of people's boards, he was the 6th best quarterback, but I can assure you, for Sean Payton, he was definitely not the 6th best quarterback.
No,
he was definitely in my opinion, top 3, in that range.
I totally agree.
So yeah, I mean, and same thing with wide receivers this year as well. It's definitely a, flavor of the day, of the month. Like what type of receiver do you want?
Yep. I'm totally with the chat on what they're talking about. A certain player that they're talking about. I think
Scattaboo.
To me, that guy is one of those guys that he's just going to change the mentality of your team and your offense. And that is worth, it's like when you brought in Peyton Manning and everybody was now having to be like way more like, just on their stuff, and I was thinking about this today. It's like whether you're playing football, whether you're playing a sport, or whether you're on the battlefield in a war, if like you have a leader or you have a guy in your squad that when you look into his eyes and he was like, we're going to do this, we're going to win, and you believe it, that can take you so much further than just talent. And so I listened to an interview with his high school football coach, and he was telling a story about how when he was 10, there was already people talking about him because his older brother and his dad like played for that high school. And they had this out on their field. They had like a all year track that people would run, and they would have a thing like these big heavy mats that they'd have to put on the track. So like the guys with the cleats would walk on the mats so they wouldn't step onto the track. And they were like super heavy, but one day they had to like move all these mats off. And Cam was just wanting to hang around the older guys, and he was just like, "Hey, can I help? Can I help?" And they were kind of like annoyingly so, he said. And he said the high schoolers were having trouble grabbing one of these mats, and he went and grabbed two of them, stuck it over his shoulder, and was just walking up the stairs. And the coach was like, "Are you all right with that? Are you okay?" And he's like, "Oh, this isn't anything. I'm fine." And then he took those two up, put them down, went back down, grabbed two more, and did it again. And he was like, "This kid's strength is insane for a 10-year-old." So it's just like stories like that where you're just like, he just overachieved every single place he's gone. He was the MVP of a bowl game he didn't win. He completely carried that team. So yeah, I'm a fan. And if that's the way Sean goes, I would be very excited. I'm not saying you just draft him in the first round, but I'm just saying.
No, for sure. I think like it, and you make a good point. Like I know I haven't been the highest on Cam Scatterbo, and he is like people, Eli Betts here says Cam screams a Sean Payton player. Definitely does. He definitely does, man. And I think he'd be a really good fit for the offense. And the major key is there. Like you get him in the third, you might end up with the best value pick in the draft, right? You get him earlier than that, it's like there's a lot of high bust potential. But the guy is like, a lot of people joke a lot, like, "Oh, I'm built different," blah blah blah. He's built differently, dude. Like he really is. The guy is an absolute tank.
He's a freak.
I do have concerns. Like, all right, how is he going to hold up in the league? Is that strength going to translate? But I'd rather bet on a player like that, especially in the middle rounds, than go with someone that's like safe and kind of boring and like. I feel like if you're gonna swing and miss, do it on someone that like wants to go to war with your squad. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And that's the thing that his coach was saying is just like when he like the team, he basically turned around. Like he said that the team that he was on was they were a good like high school team for the state or whatever, but they weren't like a good program, but they weren't like one of the top programs. And then when he came, it was like they became like elite, and they won the high school state championship. And then he doesn't get any recruits. He goes to Sacramento State, absolutely just kills it there. Again, they underestimate him for whatever reason. You kind of probably know why the reason, but who knows? And he gets one offer that's to a team like Arizona State, goes there and completely just carries them on his back, literally like one of those mats. And then, he rushed for 1,700 yards. He received 630 yards. He ran for 21 touchdowns. He received 3 touchdowns. I think he threw a touchdown. And like I said, he was the MVP of the bowl game that would have taken him to the national championship. They were one play away from going to the national championship. He was the MVP of that bowl game. They lost. So it's like, I don't know what else he could do at this point. Like that's pretty insane. So
yeah.
All right, I got another scenario here.
Let's
say the plan is to wait at running back, or the running back you really, really want has gone, and you want a tight end. Now, this could be for either Loveland or Warren, but you need to go to 13 for either Tyler Warren or Colson Loveland. 13.
Now you're talking. I'm looking at this trade chart again.
Yeah, because see, the Colts have been rumored to be taking a tight end this whole time.
It's a good point. No, it's a good point. So you would have to be essentially, you'd have to make up 300 points, which would be your 3rd round pick and some. It'd be your 3rd and your 4th, probably. Yeah, it's exactly your 3rd and your 4th.
Ouch.
To move up for one of those tight ends, I wouldn't do it. Because I really like Mason Taylor. So I don't know if that's cheating in this scenario. It's just one of those things, man. Like they said it, people are saying in the chat, and I agree. I would much rather. I feel like there's in almost any scenario, I would rather trade back, even if that meant trading out of the 1st round, than trading up. Because it's like, if you feel like Sean Payton and George Payton are a really good match and they do a really good job evaluating players, why not give them more opportunities then? It's like, they're really good at it. Give them more chances. But like trading back it's such a, like I always say, it takes two to tango. So it's not like it's necessarily that realistic. But no, it's tough, man. Because I love Loveland and I love Warren. I think both of them help this offense so much, but not at the expense of. I mean, imagine they give the second and the third up. Well, I guess it would be no. Well, if you gave up your second, you could actually get something in return. But if in this scenario, if you're saying like your third and your fourth round pick, it's like now you're basically forcing yourself to take a running back in round 2. And then the rest of the draft is going to be a bunch of like dart throw players. So it'd be fun, but I don't think I would do it. I feel like this is one that you'd probably be like, hell yeah, let's do it.
No, actually, like it's just because you like Mason Taylor. I'm pretty big on Tyler Ferguson. So I would make, if I didn't get one of those guys, I'd make Tyler Ferguson a priority personally. But if you like Mason Taylor, if you like Harold Fannin, he's a kind of a different guy. If you went Fannin, if somehow you got Fannin later, you got him in the 3rd or the 4th, I could see him learning from a guy like Evan Ingram. He's kind of in that Evan Ingram type where Gunnar Helm and Tyler Ferguson are kind of more all around kind of guys.
Yeah.
So they're different, but yeah, it'd be tough. I think you'd need a deal. If you're just going off the chart, like, yeah, I think that's too rich probably. But where are the Falcons drafting? They're 12, right?
Falcons are 15th.
Oh, 15. I know they're desperate to trade back. If for whatever reason, let's say both tight ends haven't gone, the Colts pick one of them, and let's say the other one's still there at 15. And that's where I would start to be like, maybe,
Yeah, I think Atlanta's that good spot where you think, okay, this is where, because like Atlanta, I think only has 5 picks this year in the draft. Arizona has 6 picks in the draft. They pick 16th. Cincinnati, would want to trade back because they just need more dart throws and they don't have a lot of picks. So yeah, I mean, I think the trade back scenarios realistically start at Atlanta. It's just unfortunate they're after Indy because Indy's a big, team that's most likely going to take a tight end. But like shit, who knows, bro? Who knows at that point?
Yeah, I listen to Scott Kennedy, who does the Falcons podcast, and he's very like plugged in with them. And he's basically saying Atlanta's desperate to trade back. They would love to trade back. So you could have definitely a team willing if your guy gets to 15. But that's the one where I'd start to think about it there. Okay. And I like the chat is saying too, defensive tackle, you got great options at 20, most likely there. There's wide receivers I really like. Let's talk about wide receivers. Which I'm going to give you an either or. Let's say you haven't gotten a wide receiver yet. You didn't get Igbuka in like the first round, or you didn't get somebody like Jack Batch or
Jack Batch.
In the second round, or like Matthew Golden or McMillan or whoever early.
Yeah. And
now you're in the 4th round, and these two guys who are two very different types of running or two different types of wide receivers in the 4th round. Who would you pick? Xavier Restrepo or Isaac Tesla?
Oh man, that's tough. Oh, that's a tough one. That's a really, really. I love this one, man. I like this one a lot because, they are different, and they're both good, like in different ways.
It's basically like a guy who's been 100% productive. He's like the leading receiver for Miami, but he doesn't have the athletic scores. Like, he ran slow. He's really crafty. He's one of those guys versus a guy who doesn't have any production and is got all of the testing. He's big, he's strong, he's fast, but he didn't do it in college. So that's why it's interesting.
So I think for me in the 4th, I like the 4th round picks. Like I feel like I like to go with guys that you kind of know what you're going to get. And Xavier Restrepo, I think he's the first film review video I did.
Mhm.
I loved him, bro.
Yeah.
And yeah, he ran really slow. I'm probably taking Xavier Restrepo for the cold reason of like, I know exactly who he's going to be. I know he's going to translate well into the NFL. He's never going to light the league by storm. He gives me a lot of Hunter Renfro, type of vibes in terms of like, he's going to be solid. He's going to be really productive. But I just feel like for Bo Nix and for what this offense is, we could utilize someone like him. Like he's a really good safety valve, someone that can catch the ball across the middle. Someone that could, as a good drive starter as a slot, but also, you can get first downs and keep things going. Tough as shit, dude. Like the guy is tough as nails. And I'm not overly concerned about the speed. So I'd be really interested in either one. I'd be totally fine with both. But yeah, I mean, Restrepo is just one of those dudes. I look at him in a weird way, like the Cam Scatabo of receivers. And he's not necessarily as tough, obviously, but not very athletically gifted. Like he doesn't win off of his athleticism at all, but he just gets shit done and he's just good and he catches everything, bro. Like I don't even know how many drops he had last year, but he catches everything. I think he made Cam Ward look really good. So I would go with Restrepo. I'd be thrilled with him in the fourth, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the only reason he's probably sliding to the fourth, if he does, is because of that testing. So, that was one that was interesting for me. I was trying to figure out, man, if I hadn't gotten a receiver yet and I'm on the clock and I'm staring at these two, man, that's tough. So I wanted to run that one by you. Let's say you don't pull a wide receiver in the fourth. And I think this person you would like later in the sixth, but like, all the things you've heard, you have a quarterback who's very close to this guy. He's got great reports from his coaches and everybody. And Victory knows where I'm going.
Yeah.
Let's say you have to go, not the sixth. Let's say you have some intel that he's going to go in the fifth. Would you trade up? Or you could trade back from the fourth or trade up from the sixth pick to get Tez Johnson in the fifth.
And we haven't taken any receivers.
We have not taken a receiver at this point.
There's a lot of other nuances that I would care about. It's like, have we addressed defense?
Right.
Have we, I would say probably not. I'm not it's not that I'm not a big Tez Johnson fan because I love watching him play and the dude is a separator. And I think he's actually going to be pretty decent in the NFL, but he's also an anomaly. And I forgot where I heard it, but someone says you just cannot bet on anomalies. Like if there's an example, out there of someone that size and that weight, that's good. There's also a million others that didn't work out. And yeah, for that reason. And also like, where does he fit in the offense? Right.
I mean,
is he a pure slot? Like a pure slot?
Probably.
I mean, I wouldn't hate it. Like I would be totally fine with it. But if it was up to me, I probably wouldn't do it.
Yeah. I mean,
and also I think we've talked about, I don't like it's a weird thing for me, like Tez and Bo on the same squad. I don't know why I feel like that could be an unnecessarily annoying distraction, not from them, but like the media. All they're going to talk about, how's your brother doing? How's this? How's that? And it just becomes like, ugh, I'm kind of sick of hearing about it.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but it's just one of those things where it's like, because his family kind of like, I mean, they didn't technically adopt him. They just like let him like hang with them way more just because it was better for him and, situationally. But so it's fun to say, oh, that's his adopted brother, blah, 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 blah. But like, he's just a close player who was on, he was really good at Troy. And then people were like, yeah, but couldn't he play for Oregon? When a big market, a big step up like that. And he just crushed it for Oregon. And Bo knows him like the back of his hand. I would do that personally. I believe in that. I think Bo, I do understand what you're saying though. There is a part where is that closeness, if for some reason you have to cut somebody or you have to whatever, is there going to be hard feelings or anything like that? I don't think so. I mean, Bo's a pretty mature person. I think they kind of understand, but I'm just, that was one. It's just like, I'm not going to like, if they want Tez Johnson and they have to trade up in the 5th to do it, and they're like, hey, we really wanted this guy and we think this guy's whatever. I know he is an anomaly. He's like in the 1 percentile as far as weight, but that doesn't mean he can't put on some weight too. I mean, he's young, but
Yeah.
I would do that one probably. If they're sold on it, I'm sold on it.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I got some different rounds, and I'm going to give you a choice of a player for that round. So in this scenario, it is now round 2. Let's say we took something other than running back in round 1. Now we're round 2,
Right.
and you have your option of Judkins, Caleb Johnson, Cam Scadaboo, or Dylan Sampson.
Quinshon Judkins for sure. Yeah, that would be my choice. I'm a big Quinshon Judkins fan. I think he's fucking good, dude. He's really good. He's got a lot more juice in the pass game than I think people realize. For a guy his size, he moves. And like, I wasn't surprised the way he tested at the combine. I was actually surprised how Omarion Hampton tested. Like, they tested pretty similarly. But it seems like when you watch them both side by side, Quinshon's a little bit quicker. Omarion's probably got a little bit more like power. But yeah, I love Quinshon Judkins, man. I think he's really, really good.
Yeah, the only thing with Judkins that kind of has been a negative I've heard is obviously to get the best out of him, he had to split time with Travion, and his vision isn't the best. Sometimes he'll run to contact as opposed to avoiding it. But I hear you.
Yeah. What the thing is, so I look at him splitting time with Travion and being very productive is a very good thing, because that's a realistic of what's probably going to happen in the NFL. Definitely in Sean Payton's scheme. But even in his 2 years before, when he was at Ole Miss, he was the bell cow.
Mm-hmm.
Dude was he ran for over 1,500 yards as a freshman. 16 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And then as a sophomore, he ran for over 1,100 yards and 15 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
And then he got 14 touchdowns splitting last year with Henderson. So the durability is really solid. And the production, I feel like it's there. But yeah, I hear you in terms of the vision. There are some of those. And it's also really weird because they run like a whole lot of zone and they run a lot of gap. Like, it's actually very similar to what they do in the NFL, where you're not like, you're kind of running a mix of both. Mm-hmm. And I think that'll work in his favor as well. But yeah, I think Quinshon is really good. I really do like the fact that was in a running back by committee role, embraced it, was very solid in it. It's not going to be a big issue for him. And he kind of made the most out of those touches. Whereas when you look at someone like Caleb Johnson, I always keep referring to, it was kind of cool. Like, it was a nice thing seeing that, like, he was a running back that got better and better as the game went on. But it's like, it could be a negative, because if he's not getting a lot of those carries, is he going to be able to make the most out of the limited carries that he makes? That's always been one of my big concerns with him.
Yeah.
Where would you go there?
That'd be tough. It's going to be a cop-out answer, but whoever Sean is like in love with, I'm on board. If he's like Judkins, I love Judkins. If he wants Cam, I love Cam. You know, that's where that's the reality of what the situation is. I would personally probably lean Cam, but it's right. I mean, that's close, but because it wasn't close for you, let me ask you this. Let's say, okay, we'll take Judkins off of it because you said it wasn't close for you.
Yeah.
Caleb Johnson, Cam Scadaboo, Dylan Sampson, out of those 3.
I have to choose between those 3.
Yeah.
Dylan Sampson, Cam Scadaboo, and who else?
Caleb Johnson of Iowa.
I would take Cam Scadaboo.
My man.
Surprisingly. Yeah, I would. I'm not a big Caleb Johnson fan, man.
Yeah, it's interesting. Some people, this is what's so interesting about this year is like certain people do not like Judkins and certain people love Caleb Johnson and certain people love Dylan Sampson. I've heard people have Dylan Sampson as RB2.
I know. So,
it's all over, man.
I couldn't get that one either.
Yeah.
That one always kind of bothered me. Like, I thought Sampson was cool. He was one of the first reviews I did too early. And when I started realizing, I was like, man, he people always talk about like he's got track speed or, he's a smaller back, so he should be really fast. I mean, he's fast, but he's not like that fast.
Right.
He doesn't really do anything all that great. I wasn't really impressed by him at all.
I mean, I'm impressed by his, like, he's good at, like, he's shifty. I will give him that. Like another running back I'm going to bring up in a second. But yeah, for his size, here's what it come down to for me. Caleb Johnson struggles. He's been a zone specific runner. He runs very upright, and he's not very comfortable catching the football. So for me, that's what the negatives. I would rule Caleb Johnson out. Samson's size, and I will say that, yeah, Hampton does not fumble. Yeah. But Cam, for all the reasons we've said, I love how he can catch. I love his effort. I think he would just be one of those guys you just want on your team. So, okay, so let's go to the third round. We haven't taken a running back yet. First, second round, all the guys that we've talked about are off the board. In this scenario, I'm going to give you 4 running backs in the third round. RJ Harvey, Damian Martinez, is it DJ Giddens, and Devin Neal.
Ooh, let me get these right. DJ Giddens or Devin Neal.
Yeah.
This one should be pretty easy for me, but I'm curious about your thoughts. So RJ Harvey, and we haven't taken a running back yet.
We have not taken a running back yet.
I'm going DJ Giddens. I'm a big dude. I've liked him more and more. When I did my first top 10 ranks, and I'm not a professional. It's like the first year I'm actually doing this, but I enjoy it. But when I first started looking at the running backs, DJ Giddens wasn't on my top 10. Then the second time, after a few months, I had him at like 9. And then my final ones yesterday, I had him at 5 or maybe 6.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or it might have even been 4. I forgot. It was right in the middle of the range. I really am a big fan of DJ Giddens, man. I think that he's just super well-rounded. He can do everything. He's surprisingly bigger than I thought he was. And I think that was a good thing because I was like, man, this dude. I just assumed he was a small back because he's really shifty.
Yeah, because the way he runs, you think he's probably smaller, and then when
but he's got decent enough size. He's about 212, and I just liked his movement. Like I thought he was his vision was really good. Mm-hmm. Contact balance was solid. But man, his open space, the guy's kind of got some jitterbug to him. So I of those guys, I like DJ Giddens. And that's the thing when I talk about like this is such a deep class because I like all those dudes.
Exactly. Like me too.
They're all good. They all just bring something different. Who's your boy here on this list?
This one's so difficult for me. I'm honestly fine with all 4. That's what's so interesting about it is like some people don't like RJ Harvey, but I think he's so like he can be so dynamic. I mean, when I watched his stuff, I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy is a sleeper. I think Chris Sims had him RB3, I believe. And I've heard other people just talk about him. I think Steve was it MJ Maurice Jones-Drew really liked him as well. He just looks like
MJD had him pretty decently high.
Yeah. So he's had kind of been my guy. And then every time, like you just said, and you just broke down Giddens, like every time I watch him, I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy is so shifty, like so impressive. When it looks like there's nothing to be had, he just comes out of the pile and you're just like, he's one of those guys that can like make you miss in a phone booth. Like it's just, damn, like that's so impressive. Martinez is a bigger back who I really like. I think he's undervalued just because he didn't have as many carries, but and then Devin Neal, I've been on him for a long time. I think, like we said, I watched that Colorado game live and I was just like, we would not stop this guy. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have the long speed, but he does everything well.
Yeah.
So man, yeah.
Are you concerned at all about RJ Harvey's age being 24?
No, because I look at every single running back, and this is like what I was going to say with Scadaboo, when you're saying, I'm a little worried about how he's going to hold up because he's had so much, pounding over like his career in college. Every single running back, I don't care if it's in the first round, I don't care if it's in the fourth round. I look at all these guys as it's a 4 to 5 year investment because most likely they're not going to be here after that. I think one guy has been re-signed to a second contract on their original team in like the last 5 years. So
Yep. I think that's exactly right. I
if
have
that's
somewhere.
yeah, if that's the case, that tells you that's why it's hard to like invest or trade up for a running back early because it's like it's such a short window. Now look, if you land on Terrell Davis, that window can bring you to championships if you get the right guy. I'm not saying it's not valuable, but if you're only if there's a 90 whatever percent that this person's only going to be on your team for 4 to 5 years, it's hard to be like, I'm going to give up a long-term tight end or a long-term defensive lineman or a long-term wide receiver for that short window. So I don't care if he's 24. I'm not looking at it like I'm going to keep him for another 10 years. So,
Yeah.
That would be my thing.
You make a good point. Like, I mean, Cam Scadaboo is 23. But he has, I think, more. Let me pull this up. He has more career carries than RJ Harvey, and I'll tell you, a lot more physical types of carries. But yeah, RJ Harvey is really good. He's actually surprisingly powerful too, man. And you talk about somebody with absolute freaking juice.
Yeah,
he's got that. Fumbles, he can work on the fumbles a little bit.
That's what's tough about this class. There's a few guys that are just like, I like this guy a lot, but they fumble. Yeah. I mean, Ashton Jeanty fumbles, Cam Scadaboo's fumble, but like those two guys, they were their whole team, so it's like hard to
like 300 attempts, 4 or 5 fumbles is like not that much. It just looks like it, but yeah, no, RJ Harvey would be fun, man. Yeah.
All right, let's say now you're going for a late round running back. And I'm not going to say we haven't picked a running back. Well, if you pick a running back early, then you're going to want the complement to that guy. So let's just pretend like we don't know if we've picked we haven't picked a running back yet, or, you're taking a late round running back with one of your 6th round picks. Now, one of these guys I'm going to maybe take off just for you because I kind of already know how you feel about him.
Is it my boy LeQuint?
Well, he's on here. It wasn't LeQuint, but it was your boy.
It was either LeQuint or Monungai. Yeah.
So here's my guys: Jarquez Hunter, Jaden Blue, Brashard Smith, Trevor Etienne. I was gonna say Monungai. We'll leave him off. Bayshaw Tootin, Jordan James, and then I was gonna say LeQuint Allen. Or other. I mean, you guys like Woody Marks and all these other people too. So
I'll put LeQuint on it.
Okay. And chat, I want to hear you guys' thoughts too.
Yeah, I would love to know what the chat thinks. So it's excuse like some of the, some things are capitalized, some are not. I was just typing it up. Jarquez Hunter, Jaden Blue, Brashard Smith, Trevor Etienne, Bayshaw Tootin, Jordan James, LeQuint. All right, so of all of these guys, I think the best pure running back is Jordan James.
Okay.
Right. Big fan of his after I started doing a lot more late stuff on him. I just think he's pretty good. Not overly special, but solid.
Yeah.
But if we took Quinchon, Omarion, Trevion Henderson, one of those guys early, somebody that I could think would be a 3-down back, then LeQuint Allen is easily the choice for me because of what he can do from the pass game and the fit with Sean Payton. Always thought he was I just think he's going to be really, really good. He's going to be one of those guys, man. The only one I always think of was like Darren Sproles, but there's a couple other running backs that like they would come in and they would always get more catches than they actually got runs,
Right.
And that's what I feel like he's going to be. Like if I feel like if Sean Payton took LeQuint Allen as a rookie, he could literally get 70 catches, but maybe run the ball like 70 times also.
Right.
Like he's that kind of a player. I just love the fit there, but as a pure runner, I would say Jordan James would be my choice. But I love me some Bayshaw Tootin too, bro. Like he might actually give RJ Harvey a run for his money in terms of like speed and quickness. And the idea of saying like Scoot and Tootin or something like that is kind of intriguing. So those are my 3 dudes.
Yeah.
I had to choose one, I'd probably go with Jordan James.
Yeah. Jordan, I mean, and obviously Jordan James played with Bo Nix. So there's obviously chemistry there, you would think. Yeah, it's tough. It's a tough one. I mean, I just wanted to emphasize with these ideas, like, don't freak out if we don't pick up Marion Hampton or Travion Henderson in the first round or pick up somebody in the second round. There's a lot of really good options, and you know what's going to happen, most likely. One of these guys that's going to go in the top 3 running backs is not going to live up to a guy that's going to go 12th or 9th or whatever. That's just the way the NFL works. If they go to the wrong situation or they get hurt or whatever it is, there's going to be one of these late guys that ends up being like, oh, well, you could have got this guy at this round. And it's impossible to know before the draft, but
yeah,
there's just so much talent at the running back position. And like people in the comments were even saying like, Ollie Gordon, yeah. I ran out of like, I just didn't want to give you 15 guys.
Yeah, there's so many. There's so many. It really is. It's
Raheem
crazy.
Sanders, like there's Jamari Crockett, Merritt or whatever. Like there's just a ton of different guys.
Yeah, and in the 6th round, you're assuming the back that you're going to get is going to be like a role player back, right? He's not going to be your RB1 or somebody that you expect to be an RB1. So if that's the case, that's what makes I think LaQuinn Allen so valuable, Bashal Tutin so valuable, Rashard Smith also very valuable because they can be like a change of pace guy. But if you're just looking for someone that has the highest chance of being RB1 on your team, then it changes everything completely. I think the only one on here is Jordan James. That would be realistically that.
Yeah, like Jadon Blue's like so fast, but he fumbled. Rashard Smith is more of a pass catcher because he used to be a wide receiver, but he's super dynamic. You know, Jarquez Hunter, Trevor Etienne, all these people, Bashal Tutin, same thing, he has the fumbles, but he's like maybe the fastest running back in the draft. Mm-hmm. Jordan James kind of can do it all. And he's tough. Even though his size isn't like massive, he runs really tough. I would trust Jordan James to get a tough 3rd and 1 more than I would trust a lot of these running backs in this draft. So the thing with LaQuinn Allen is, like you said, it's not only just the pass game as far as him catching the ball, which he's very good at. He may be the best pass protector in the class next to like Travion Henderson. Like he's a stud when it comes to that.
Ooh, so Jordan James?
No, LaQuinn Allen.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So like, it's not just whether he catches the football. If you put him in on 3rd down, he can protect Bo on 3rd down as well.
Yeah. No,
he's huge.
He's probably the best pure 3-down back in this class. Like that's exactly what he is. He is a 3rd down back. No, not 3 down.
Not 3 down back. 3rd down back. Yeah.
3rd down. Yeah. Like you're looking for a 3rd down back. LaQuinn Allen is your guy. He can do that. Yep. Strictly on 3rd down.
Yeah.
Right. Are you an Oregon Ducks fan or do you just love Oregon Ducks players? I was even curious.
No. I could care less about the Oregon Ducks.
So you just happen to like a lot of Oregon Ducks players because I was like,
no,
maybe.
So So what happened was, going into the last draft, like I just started looking at the quarterbacks because we needed a quarterback, and so I just started doing my own homework on each one of these guys and just wanted to see like, there seemed to be a lot of quarterbacks, 6 quarterbacks going to be talking about in the 1st round. So I did my own where I was like, all right, I'm just going to start watching these guys and just see what I think before any of the noise starts. And that's when I was like, oh my God, I love Bo Nix. Like this guy to me was like, what's the problem? And a lot of the same things people are doing with Cam Scatterbo this year, in my opinion, where they're just saying, oh yeah, I don't like him. Or I heard somebody's in the chat earlier were saying like, oh, he gives me the ick or whatever. And it's like, okay, well, tell me why. Mm-hmm. And every time I would push back on Bo Nix last year, people would be like, oh, he's old, which he's like 24, or he had a weak arm. And I'm like, I just watched 11 of his games. He doesn't have a weak arm. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like, so that to me was like, well, that's just, you don't know what you're talking about. No offense to anybody, but I disagree. And when you watch that much of one guy and then you're like, okay, now I'm going to go back the previous year and watch even more so I can, because he was from Auburn and all this other stuff where people were negative about. So I was like, okay, well, if he did it for 2 years at Oregon, then I want to like watch as much as I can. And by doing that, of course, I'm going to see Tez Johnson. I'm going to see Troy Franklin. I'm going to see Jordan James. I'm going to see Trayshawn Holden, who's also in this class. You're just going to see these guys, Bucky Irving. So, yeah, I'm not even an Oregon Ducks fan at all, but I watched what really woke me up, what started it was when CU was undefeated and the Oregon Ducks were undefeated that first year, when, like 2 years ago when we first had, and it was like this big, like, now they're going to finally face like a top competition. How is CU going to do? Because I went to CU and like they just ran like right through, and Bo Nix looked like Heisman winner and all this stuff. And I was like, holy crap. Yeah. That's when I first took notice of Bo Nix.
I mean, for anyone in the chat that doesn't already know this, there was nobody in this state that was on the Bo Nix hype train and was talking Broncos to Bo Nix before Jeremy. You're talking like 6 months before last year's draft. He was telling everybody, dude, Bo Nix he's a perfect fit. Bo Nix. And then he got me off the Drake May train to be like, oh shit, he ain't lying. Bo Nix is that dude. And to answer your question about like the whole Cam Scadaboo thing, like why I think people now in this like world that we live in or this day and age, they're just too scared to admit it. Instead of being like, I think he's just not very good. A lot of people think he's not very good because he's a white running back.
That's it.
It had to be said. It is what it is. I'm guilty of that. I was like, I don't know, man. How many white running backs can be good? Same reason why I didn't know if Riley Moss is going to be a good corner.
Yeah.
And that's normal and it's okay. But yeah, I mean, I definitely, sometimes you do got to just be like, all right, let's try to look at this through like neutral. Like, even if you don't like the person, like, or you hate the team, when you can actually like remove the emotion out of it, you'll start to see some things, and that, you know, that kind of opens some things up.
It's like that scene from Moneyball. Have you seen that movie? Where he's basically breaking down. He's like, this is a pitcher that you can have for $280,000 that we can afford, that will give you this many wins or this many, you know, just because he throws sidearm. It's because it looks different than what you're used to. And they're basically explaining like people are overlooked for a multitude of reasons. And it's fine if you don't like them and just give me a reason. But if it's just because of the vibes or just because of a narrative that the tape doesn't support, then I'm out like on that. So yeah, that's how I feel about that. This is a great question. Eli, let me see what you think. I have my three guys.
I want to hear them.
Okay. If I could pick my top three guys, I'm sorry to the DL people
in the first 3 rounds.
Right. I'm sorry to the defensive line people who are like, we got to go defensive line. Just for this next year as a contender, because we, our defensive line for the next year is going to be good. So, my guys are Colson Loveland in the first, Jack Besh in the second, Cam Scadaboo in the third. I think if you're walking to the line of scrimmage late in the season and you either need to kick a field goal to win and you need to move the chains and get 3 first downs to win it, or you need to kill the clock and you're on a 4-minute offense, if you march out with Bo Nix, Cortland Sutton, Jack Besh, and then whether it's Mims, Franklin, Vele, whoever you want there, Evan Ingram, and Colson Loveland, and you have a guy who can run for 5 yards of carry or catch the football and make plays in Cam Scadaboo, that's my 3 guys. I think first downs would be so much easier to handle, whether you're playing the Ravens or you're playing Buffalo or you're playing whoever, that you're just like, you need to grind these games out and it's going to be a tough game, physical game. I love all those guys to be physical. And I just think, man, that would be my dream scenario as far as helping Bo in the first 3 rounds.
Yeah, this is really hard because obviously, like, I would love to have a defensive interior guy, but I have no idea aside from like who I know is going to be available in the first that would be available in the third, right? Because like I love Alfred Collins, but he's probably going to be a 2nd round pick. JJ Pegues kind of, but like I'm not like necessarily in love with him. Omar Norman Lott I think he's gone in the second. Obviously, Derek Harmon. So
Alfred Collins.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's
There's a
tough,
few.
man. I think if you're asking me my dream scenario, and it's such a good question because it's like, what do I want versus what I think is the best for the team? And if the question is, give me 3 players to make the Broncos a contender next year. Oh man, that's hard. I would say Colston Loveland in the first, Jaden Higgins in the second, and I'd have to go with DJ Giddens in the third unless Quinshon Judkins was there. But I think it'd have to probably be DJ Giddens. I'd be fine with Cam Scatterbo too. Yeah. And for a lot of the same reasons that you said. I mean, Colston Loveland is just dynamic. He's extremely good. He would be a huge addition to our tight end room because like people think, oh, we got Evan Ingram. Our tight end room is not 1% solved yet. We still need an additional piece there because we're one injury away from it being terrible. He just fits the system perfectly. Jaden Higgins, I just absolutely love. I think he's a true X. I think he works very well with Sutton, and then he eventually can replace Cortland Sutton, but he would be a hell of an outside weapon to have for Bo. It's certainly a huge upgrade from Troy Franklin. And then, DJ Giddens, just like you said, I just think he's a solid potential 3-down running back that could complement Jaleel McLaughlin well, assuming we're not going with any other running backs later. He could also complement Audric Estime well because he's kind of got hybridness to him also. But I'd be good with Cam Scatterbo in that kind of a role as well. I mean, shit, Cam Scatterbo and Audric Estime would be two scary fucking people to tackle.
Seriously.
But yeah, I mean, if you talk about contenders next year, like it's specific next year, it changes the entire outlook of the question because if you're like, all right, we need to have it as a 1 to 2 year thing, then you roll that way. You could even make the argument that like then Trevion Henderson, right, and Jaden Higgins and
Terrence
Ferguson, right, be awesome.
I was just gonna say you could swap those around where it's instead of tight end 1 RB3, you go RB1 tight end 3.
Tight end 3, yeah. Or if there's a
Gunnar Helm
receiver you like in the third, right? Like if you love Jalen Royals or Kyle Williams, who I think are both really good, or Torrey Horton, anything like that, you could do that. So
legit, yeah. Yep. Okay, my last. Just give me a grade, since tomorrow's the day. Give me a grade if this person is drafted by the Denver Broncos at 20. If somebody's like, how would you grade round 1 of the Denver Broncos draft? All right. Kenneth Grant.
I would say B-.
Derek Harmon.
B+.
Tyler Warren.
A+.
Colston Loveland.
A+.
Emeka Egbuka.
A. Almost plus.
Teteroa McMillan.
Oh, I don't like it. I would say it would be a C.
Oh, okay.
And I'm not a tech guy.
Matthew Golden.
A+. I fucking love him.
Oh, see,
I know you don't.
It's not that I don't like him. I think he's really good, but I just don't think he's dynamic after the catch. I think he's like one of those. I don't know if you ever watched a lot with when Jay Cutler, Eddie Royal. He's an Eddie Royal-ish guy to me. Like he's a guy who's like a great route runner. He's going to get open, which I would love for Bo Nix because Bo Nix is so accurate that, I mean, he can find Matthew Golden all day long. So I think that would be a great fit. But in a first round pick, I just want a guy who, once he has the ball in his hands, can also take it to the house, not just as a possession type of guy. I don't see enough after the catch with Matthew Golden, but I do like him. I just don't love him.
Yeah.
Omarion Hampton.
It would be a B- for me.
Travion Henderson.
It would be a B.
And let's say the other running backs have gone and the Denver Broncos just loved this guy as you do, but it's the first round 20th pick, Quinshon Judkins.
That would also be a B. I mean, I look at it like this. That's like my floor, and I don't even know. It might be lower, but I would say like I like Trevion and Quinshon more than Omarion. So in the first round, they would both have higher grades, but I still wouldn't think it was a very smart move. But I love the player. Like I said, like if that happens, I would shit on the move and like the philosophy behind it, but I would be extremely excited for the player and like be like, hell yeah, I can't wait to watch the offense with it. We could worry about the value in 4 years, I guess.
Right. Point. Yeah. So I mean, the grade isn't the player; it's the value.
Yeah.
I'll give you one more. I didn't have this on my list, but a lot of people were talking about him, and I have my thoughts about this person. But Walter Nolan.
I would not be a big fan of it, to be honest. I would probably give that a D+.
I'm with you. I don't like the fact that he's got issues on the field as far as being inconsistent and sometimes just disappearing in certain segments of the game. And I don't like the fact that he's got issues off the field with character concerns.
Exactly.
So if you're going to if it's like, oh, a lot of people have him as like a top 10 player if he's this and that and the other. And it's like, yeah, you'll see his highlights and you'll be like, oh my gosh, this guy is incredible. But like, this is why I love guys like Bo and Cam Scadaboo and all these people. You don't need to entice them to play, to give effort. Like 100%. I want guys that are like showing up, can't wait to, that love football. Mm-hmm. So I'm the same with I don't get even aside from the off the field stuff, I don't really get it. Like sometimes people get so enamored by a player because like he'll make 2 or 3 plays in the entire season and you're like, holy shit, no one else can do that. But you're like, okay, yeah, okay, but what else does he do? Like you look at all of the metrics that matter and you compare like Walter Nolan with Derek Harmon. Derek Harmon's better. He's heavier. He's taller. He's longer. Mm-hmm. He has the sacks basically the same. I mean, Harmon has 5. Walter Nolan's got 6, sure. But Walter Nolan has 25 quarterback hurries in more snaps, and Derek Harmon has 43. And Derek Harmon is way better against the run. His pass rush win rate is significantly better. Mm-hmm. I just don't get it. I'm like, how is Walter Nolan being compared to Derek Harmon just because there's like a couple plays where you're like, oh my God, he really popped? It's like, cool, dude. I don't like to take players like that in the first. I'd rather do that later. But I would. It's funny that you say that because I was thinking there's not really a lot of scenarios that could realistically happen on draft night that like I would be really pissed off about. Mm-hmm. That is one of them. I'm with you. I would be pretty like, ugh. And then I'd be like, God, I hope he's really good. Yeah. Yeah, they did. I listened to a podcast last night. MHH did their like round table with all their guys, and they go through each one, and each person gets to talk about who they would pick in the situation, blah, 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 blah. And they went Walter Nolan at 1. And I'm like, oh man, get me on that panel because I would talk to him out of it. Yeah. Like, don't do it. But I mean, look, he could end up being great. It's just, I don't like to make a bet on a guy that you need to like hope he's going to give you effort. I just don't. Yeah. That's not a good bet.
100%.
So he might end up being awesome, but I'm fine with him being awesome and me missing because I have legitimate concerns about his like effort and other things than me like missing on a guy just because I didn't, because the vibes were like, oh, a lot of people don't like him. I was like, no, I want to see it for myself. And then I'll, I can live with that. Okay. Let's go to Eli's last question here. Cause I think that's kind of the whole point of this.
Yeah. Just real quick on that front. Would you look at things a little bit differently? Like if, okay, so if the Broncos took Walter Nolan, mm-hmm. would like, you'd be like, all right, well, I trust the fact that, we obviously did work on him.
Yeah, I do. I mean, for sure. Because one thing I will say that I really, really like is when we had Mike Shanahan, he was kind of like the guy who was coaching the team. He was like the mastermind of the team, but he was also like picking the groceries, which in a way that's good. But in another way, it's like, that's what happened with Bill Belichick is like, sometimes you get over your skis with the picking of the players and coaching and doing all the things. And I think Kyle Shanahan has run into that a little bit too. I really, really like, and I was hoping it was going to end up this way because I could see it going that way, and it has. It seems. I love George Payton being like the checks and balance guy on Sean Payton's shoulder, being like, let's make sure. And let me do due diligence. Yeah. I think that is where no disrespect to George Payton. I think he did an admirable job. Obviously, the Russ thing didn't work out. That's easy to say in hindsight. We all would have done it. So I'm not going to even jump all over him for that. But he seems like a perfect number 2 guy to consult with, like a consigliere, if this was the mob.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Sean, I love the way he just is like, this is what I want. I know what I want. This is what I want. I want to go get this guy. But George is the kind of guy who's like, okay, let me see what I can do. Let me see what the best way to do this is.
Yeah.
And I just think it's a great fit.
So
if they did take Walter Nolan, I would trust that George Payton did do his homework and looked into all that.
For sure. And another thing, I mean, you hear consistently that like George Payton is extremely well respected in like GM circles.
Yeah.
People are always willing to at least like talk and negotiate because he's not like the stickler, like this person that's hard to. So it's like he can make some of these deals get done for Sean as long as it's the right terms. I think it's a really nice match that they got going on there.
Yeah.
You had said you wanted me to pull up something. Which one for Eli?
Go to Eli's last comment because I think that's what it all comes down to.
Okay. Yeah, it's a perfect segue, I think. I'm gonna have you start us off, man. What do you think?
I think he either. This is what it's hard because this is what I want, and so I'm trying to like be like, was it because of what this is what I want, or is this because of what Sean wants? Now maybe me and Sean were like thinking on the exact same way last year, so maybe I'm going with the fact that maybe Sean thinks similar to me, and you've heard other people say that this is true. I think he likes Colston Loveland. I think if Colston Loveland gets to him at 20 or is in range of getting, I think that is the guy he likes. That being said, if Colston Loveland goes early, which totally could happen, and like we went through that scenario earlier, if it's like you have to go up to 13 to get him, and they don't want to do that, and Georgia, I know, is in the background being like, don't do it, then I think I'm going to lean Emeka Ibuka or somebody like that, maybe a trade back if they can. Peter Schrager, who is super dialed into all these things, he had Ibuka going to us in his only mock draft that he does, and he's the guy that he picked Bo for us last year. He's very, very knowledgeable.
Yeah, and if you look, like he might not always get the teams right, but he'll nail a lot of the first round players. And even last year I was looking at his. He had like J.C. Latham going to the Chargers and then Joe Alt going to the Titans later. But it ended up being flipped. But like both teams took tackles, So it's like, damn, he was onto something.
He knew what they were looking for. He just didn't know the exact guy, but he knew that they wanted tackles.
Yeah, he's plugged in.
Yeah, so I mean, and then if that's the case, and they went if Tet falls, which apparently Chris Sims put out his mock, and then he has so many friends and sources in the NFL that as soon as he put out his mock on Monday, he heard right away about certain people in his mock that they're like, I'm telling you right now, this is not what's going to happen. I can guarantee blah, 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 blah. So he had us picking T-Mac at 20, and he said it has now been 100% confirmed that there are certain teams that are like, love Tedero McMillan, and he's going top 10. So I don't think that's going to happen for the people who don't love Tet. That's good news.
He said they are. He is going to go top 10, right?
He said he's going top 10.
That's what I thought I heard too. Yep.
Yeah. So, he also said that. What was the other one? I think. Well, he loves Hampton, so I think he had Hampton going. But I could also very much see, Travion Henderson being the pick too. I honestly could. I just think he fits what Sean wants to do. He's dynamic.
Yeah.
Everybody we all kind of fall into this. Oh, well, these initial rankings and stuff have Hampton as number 2. So I guess he's the second best. But again, it comes down to fit. And I love Travion Henderson, the person. I love the effort. I love the fact that he was willing to split carries. I love the fact that he blocks his freaking butt off in pass protection. and I love his vision. He's just, the worry about him is he's had a foot injury that they probably had checked out because they did a top 30 pick or top 30 visit with him. I'm sure that was for the medicals, and he wasn't healthy, the last 2 years, the whole time. He's not a bell cow guy who I could trust as like, oh, he's going to be fine the whole season.
Mm-hmm.
That would be my one reservation with him, but I could see Sean being like, we'll split time with him, but we can put him in a third down, and he's super.
And Bo Lowry will get him right. Yeah, the whole thing.
I mean, if the foot checks out, I'm sure that that's what it is. So, those are my three that I probably would guess. I wouldn't be shocked if it's Kenneth Grant or it's Derek Harmon or whatever, but I do feel like they address so much stuff in the free agency of the defense. They made that such a priority with DJ Jones, with Hufanga, with Greenlaw, that I think they're probably going to look to the draft for the offense. So I think that's probably where I'd lean.
Yeah. I would say for me, man, I think I made a video on like this particular situation. And then afterwards I was like, damn, I kind of like convinced myself even more that this could happen. But then I was like, I have a feeling that's going to happen. And then I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'm just having like an emotional response. This is like the cycle of being a fan, right? I was like, so let me just wait it out and see if I feel the same way afterwards. And I really genuinely believe that this scenario is going to take place in the draft. And This is not like for clickbait. I think it's going to be a repeat or an attempted repeat of the 2011 draft.
Okay.
Where we're going to sit at 20, we're going to make a pick, and we are going to trade back into the first round and have a second first-round pick. Now, it might not work out. We might not ultimately get a trade. The guy that we wanted maybe falls into the second. We trade up into the second. But this is it's shaping up to be a perfect draft for that, for a lot of different reasons. Firstly, I think that they're really happy with their team, and they're fine just going all in for a couple pieces that they really strongly believe in. Secondly, it's a draft where not a lot of people are thinking there's going to be a lot of trades. And there's a lot of teams that are probably very interested in trading back. And so finding a trade partner, if you're wanting to trade up, wouldn't be very difficult, especially if you were able to like give them either a high future pick or, a couple or like a couple of our mid rounders this year. So it can happen, man. I mean, and people are talking about you're going to go all out. And here's the thing. There's a lot of like, those reports you saw from Schefter where he was like, oh, the Broncos are a team that is interested in trading up. Like Sean and George wouldn't allow that kind of shit to leak, but maybe they're like playing chess checkers games where they want everyone thinking that their plan is to move up from 20, but in reality, they want to move back into the first round. Yeah. They did it to get Cam Jordan and Mark Ingram. I can see him going after, let's say they got Ibuka or, Colston Loveland and Trevion Henderson. And if that happens, I will be streaming live, probably streaking my neighborhood naked, being happy if we came out of this draft with Colston Loveland and Trevion Henderson out of the first round. That would be crazy. Dude. But I really do. I feel like, man, everything that in all the different scenarios, I'm like, this one makes a lot of sense. And I can absolutely see Sean and George doing it. And it probably involved giving up a one next year, but you got to look at it like you're really substituting next year's one for this year's because you're selecting 2 in the first round. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's like you're not really giving up a first in a way.
You're just getting.
You already made a selection.
Your 2 now. You're instead of 1 each year.
Yeah. You're probably giving away your 2 now. For sure.
So that would be your 2 that you would think, Colston Loveland and Trevion Henderson.
I mean, it could be.
Or
I think if Loveland fell, it would have probably a higher chance of that happening because then they're like, oh shit, we can get 2 guys that we love.
Yeah.
Right. Because I feel like Sean Payton loves Colston Loveland. I think he loves Ibuka. I think he loves Trevion Henderson. You talk about offensive guys in the first.
Yeah.
I think that they don't really like Luther Burden, which is why you heard a lot of that stuff kind of come out. I think they probably love Matthew Golden too, maybe just hypothetically. So it's like if one of those guys fell, it would increase the chances of them wanting to come back in and they might love Omarion Hampton. So yeah, if I was to guess, I mean, but shit, it could be. I mean, I would say it could be like Derek Harmon and then a running back, but I don't see that because I think that they want to add a tight end. So yeah, I would say it'd probably be Colston Loveland and Trevion Henderson. Okay. Could you imagine if I nailed that?
Oh, dude, I hope you do. I'm praying you do.
Yeah,
That would be amazing.
That would be cool. But I really believe that is wholeheartedly, that's what I think the Broncos are going to do. Or at least you're going to hear a lot of reports that, man, the Broncos are trying really hard to get back up into the first.
You're right. You're right. They might not be able to do it, but they
might not be able
try.
to. Yeah.
Yeah, and two things that I thought of while you're saying that. The fact that it's been reported that, we're trying to, Denver is one of the teams that's looking to trade up. I honestly think that could just be George Payton doing his due diligence of being like, I'm going to call every single team and see what it takes. Because that's the smart thing to do. The fact that every team doesn't do that blows my mind. Yep. You guys are running billion-dollar organizations and you're not like uncovering every stone. That just seems crazy to me. So just because he's making phone calls doesn't mean they're desperate to do that. It just could mean he's checking, and that's smart. And it's checking what it would cost to go back, what would it cost to go up. And that way it's smart too, because it's like, okay, we have this already in place that if somebody falls or the right guy's there, we know we can call this team and the parameters are already set and we're ready to go.
And it's one of those things too where you're like, all right, like you call, I don't know, let's say the San Francisco 49ers at 11, right? You have a good relationship. You ask them what it would cost and you're like, man, that price is asinine. Unless for some crazy reason this player fell. Let's say Ashton Jeanty, right?
Right.
So, and you never know. Crazy things happen. So like, at least instead of getting blindsided, like, oh my God, Ashton Jeanty's available at 11, and then you're like scrambling. You're like, cool. Well, we know what it would cost. Let's hit him up and make the deal. Like, yeah, dude, he does it with everyone. He made a call about like Cooper Kupp, and then the report came out, and then Mike Klis came out. He's like, dude, he called him. They asked what the price was. It was too high, so that was the end of that. But like, yes, he is going to call and you should absolutely always be calling everyone.
Yeah, I could totally see Sean doing that on 100%. I mean, Sean is super aggressive. He's traded up in both of the last two drafts for a guy he wanted. He did it for Drew Sanders. He did it for Riley Moss, and was it Drew Sanders? I don't remember, but he did it for, I think it was maybe it was for Mims. Either way, it's totally like if he identifies somebody, like, yeah, he's totally willing to do that. The one thing I thought about
too, final say on draft day.
What's that?
Like who do you think has the final say on draft day? Like, let's say Sean. A situation like what we just talked about happened, and Sean Payton looked at George and he's like, dude, like, make the deal. We're getting Jeanty. We have to go up to 11. And George Payton's like, dude, it's way too expensive. Like, we're not going to do it.
I think
get your fucking ass fired if you're not doing it.
I think that they've done so much due diligence and so they've talked about these things for so long that I don't think he's going to get a fever during the thing where he's going into the day going like, we're not going to do that. And then all of a sudden he's going to change his mind. I don't think that's going to happen, but
I mean, prepping is different than like if it actually happened. Like, I know for me, I would be like, nah, I'm not going to give up that much for Jeanty, but he's also not going to fall to 11. But then if I was in the room and he's there at 11, I'm like, oh my God. Like, I think I actually want to do it.
Right. Yeah. No, Sean would be the more impulsive person for sure. But
for sure.
I think that's kind of why they go through all these things. So, it's one of those where we've already, Sean can't go back and be like, never mind. Let's just do it, because they've already like agreed upon, this is the range, this is the cost we're willing to do, this isn't the cost we're willing to do. So I think it kind of cements it ahead of time, and it keeps you from being impulsive. The other thing I was going to say, the one I couldn't remember, is what Chris Sims was also saying when he put out his mock draft, is that the NFL likes Matthew Golden and they like Emeka Egbuka, but they're not in love with those guys, just because when the first thing in their draft profiles is like, this guy is great in the locker room, or this guy can block and does it. If it's not a dynamic thing that this person does as your first thing, like, you could look at, you might not like him, but you could look at Teddy Roman and be like, oh, well, that guy can, out jump anybody, or his catch radius is insane or something like that. Where Matthew Golden is like, yeah, he runs really good routes and he's got really good hands. And he's a really good guy. Same with Emeka Egbuka, but like, he thinks that Emeka Egbuka, he expects him, is what he said, that to go round 2 now. So I could, if that's the case, and he's not getting.
Who expects him to go? Emeka Egbuka to go
Chris,
round 2?
Chris Sims expects
Chris Sims.
Emeka Egbuka to go round 2 now.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie, man. Like,
who knows if that's true? But
I don't really take what like Chris Sims says. Just like I love his show because he's funny and he's entertaining, but I feel like he's kind of full of shit.
Well, it wasn't coming from him. It was coming from because he had him going in the first round, and it was other people calling and be like, you might be a little high on him for what most teams are thinking. So we'll see. That could definitely not happen. But if that's the case, and he goes, I think Sean might be calling early in round 2 to move up and get somebody like that as well. So
if he weird too, because like even Schrager says, this is what he says about Egbuka to the Broncos. He says, bar none, Egbuka is the most universally well-liked prospect in this draft.
Right. And here's the thing. The way I look at Emeka Egbuka is he might not be a home run, but his floor is a double. And
1,000%.
And his ceiling maybe is a triple, but it's like if you're guaranteeing, like that's the thing. It was like that's the thing with like Walter Nolan or like somebody like that. It's like Walter Nolan may be a home run if everything worked out perfectly, but when you have the bases loaded and you have a situation where you just need to drive in a few runs to like win the game, you don't need the home run guy to go in. You need the guy who's probably going to get a double or a triple. So
no doubt. Like if I had to place my money on any prospect in the entire draft,
not being
that like somebody was like, who's not going to be a bust?
Yeah.
I'm taking Egbuka over anybody.
Yeah. It just, he seems almost, and not knock on wood, but he seems almost like foolproof, bust proof because it's just the way he plays and who he is. I mean, one injury, anything can happen. We know that, whatever. But he's not going to show up to camp and be like, "Oh, this guy's way worse than we thought." That's just not going to happen.
No. Yeah. No, he's dope.
Yep. Well, this is exciting times. Now we're 25 hours and 24 and a half hours.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate everybody riding with us, man. I can't. Every time we do this, we go an hour plus, and it's crazy. And I never even I never even feel it. But biggest time to sign off. I'm super pumped about the draft, man. I hope you guys all are too. I was thinking about maybe going live during the draft, but to be honest, there's so many people going live. And last year I did it, dude, and like I literally was having a panic attack.
Really?
Because I was checking Twitter to see who was drafted, and then I had the thing on in the background, and then I was like trying to be live and entertain the people, and then like halfway in, I'm like, I actually feel like I'm gonna lose my mind. So I don't know I might just be chilling. We'll definitely go live after the Broncos make a selection. That's what I'm thinking. So anybody that likes to join, in the Discord will reach out. But I'd love to have you, Jeremy, obviously on, and maybe we'll get some of the other guys to do like after the Broncos pick, we go live right away.
Okay.
That I can handle. I'll show you guys. I'll probably be slurring a little bit, right? Because I do like to have several beverages during the draft specifically, but yeah, we'll do it. Yeah.
I'm totally down to do it. And if we end up being on and they trade back in, that would be exciting.
That would be crazy. Yeah. That's when I would be on live stripping, just getting ready to go.
You're either going to get more followers or going to lose all your followers.
Yeah. I'm going to get kicked off this damn platform is what'll happen to me. So, but yeah, appreciate you guys, man. Everyone have a great night. And hopefully we'll be back in 24 hours and change.
Yeah.
Talking about the Broncos pick and being all happy about it. So y'all have a good one, man. Take it easy and go Broncos. Peace.
Go Broncos, guys.